If a woman has the right to choose whether or not she's going to have the child, why does the man not have the right to say, you know what, I don't want to support this child?
There's a difference between a man who is going to be a good father and a man who's going to be a great husband. Sometimes a man could be a really great father and be a fucking terrible husband, or they could be a wonderful husband and want not shit to do with the fucking kids.
It's more safe to do it on your own at this point.
Let's go, Nick Cannon. Let's go. Oh, sorry.
Fuck that guy.
You guys know that Nick Cannon, after 10 kids, that he doesn't have to pay any more child support?
That's crazy. I've heard that.
Do you know that? He does it after 10. It's the same thing in Texas. I think it's like 6 or 7 kids. You don't pay any more child support. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, he's smart.
What?
Yeah. Isn't that
what you were saying, like,
but
what
is
if
it
you
with the
have
same baby mama?
Hell no.
You don't know Nick Cannon?
Yeah, of course. No, I'm
Nick
saying
Cannon has kids with 10 different women now.
That's what I'm saying. But is it only if you have 7 kids, you just automatically don't have to pay child support?
Yes. Yeah, the state, because it's becoming more expensive for the state to prosecute you than it is to get the child support payment. So at that point, they just stop. Yeah.
Oh my God! So that's what Mexicans do.
That is,
yes.
That's what Mexicans do.
Let me
do that for child support. If we have 5 kids, bro, that's a big ass.
Okay, hang on one second here. So this is according to Single Parent Success Foundation, a national nonprofit that encourages educational opportunities for single parents.
Yeah.
Selectively, electively or not.
100%.
63% of suicides nationwide are individuals from single parent families. 75% of children in chemical dependency hospitals are from single parent families. More than half of all youths incarcerated in the United States lived in a one-parent family as a child. 37% of families led by single mothers nationwide live in poverty. Comparatively, 6.8% of families with married parents live in poverty, according to the data from the Heritage Foundation here. Consider these single-parent household statistics here. 63% of youth suicides are single parent. 90% of all homeless and runaway children. 85% of children that exhibited behavioral disorders. 80% of rapists. There goes our child. Motivated with displaced anger. 71% of all high school dropouts. 75% of all adolescent patients in chemical abuse centers. 70% of juveniles in state-operated institutions, and 85% of all youths sitting in prison right now.
So here's my thing. I didn't say that I wouldn't necessarily try to find a male figure for my child in my life. Mm-hmm. I just never want to go through a crazy custody battle with my child.
Sure.
I don't want to sit there and lose my child. If I sat there and birthed you, we ain't about to sit here and fight over who gets what weekend, and I want him on Christmas, and you want it on Christmas. Like, I just have too many girls that come to my
is that selfish to you?
Yeah,
men don't have to give birth, though. I mean, think about that. You carried that child for 9 months. You had to go through giving birth. Like,
but that's how can they the baby when it comes to court? When it comes to court, you're the one that gets to keep the baby.
Not always.
Not always.
Okay, so again, 86% of the time, primary custody is awarded to women. 97% of alimony is paid by men to women. Yeah. That's the way it works out. But let me actually. I'm gonna play devil's advocate to the stuff he just said, because those are fucking terrifying numbers, aren't they? They're terrifying. Now, but you have to control for poverty. So that's one of the issues. True. So if you control for poverty, those numbers are not going to be the same. If you have a single mother household and she makes $400,000 a year, the likelihood of the child ending up in a juvenile detention center may still be higher, but it's not as high as normal. The likelihood of committing suicide. What happens is it's not that necessarily the fact that the single parentness, it can cause an increased delinquency in the child, but what also causes an increased delinquency in the child is no food, no place to sleep.
And let me also clarify one other thing here. This is single mother households, because 42% of children today are born out of wedlock in the United States. That's not even being married in the first place. That's number one. Number two is we always talk about fatherlessness, or we talk about single parent households, rather than saying the very fact that it is single mothers because women, by and large, 86% of the time, have at least primary custody, if not of the joint custody, or they get sole custody awarded to them.
But also the men leave the women. Like, let's talk about that fact.
Okay, so how many of those men want to be involved? Like, the other thing is, I think there's this miscommunication, this misidea that that men are just hit it and forget it, right? Ejaculate and evacuate.
Imagine getting pregnant by a man. You get pregnant, and in your mind, you're like, I don't want to kill this being inside of me. Yeah. But they don't want that child. Yeah. So they leave. But you're left with the kids. So do you think that doesn't account for the statistics?
No, it's not that I don't. Well, I'm sure it accounts for part of that statistics.
But what I'm saying,
I understand that. But the other problem is that when the sperm leaves a man's body, he is 100% powerless to have any control over that. If you get an abortion, he has no say in it. If you don't, if you want 18 years of child support, he has no say in that whatsoever. True. So when we get down to the abortion, topic, I've been on this several times, is that if women want men to be involved in this conversation, then we have to have a seat at the table. Just because we don't have a uterus doesn't mean that we won't be paying for that child or we won't be held accountable.
It's not your body, though.
I understand that, but it is also our resources that has to go to supporting that child as well.
Then he should not have come in her.
He came in her.
I understand that, but whenever I got it, but what I'm talking about,
growing in her body.
It is your choice to have sex with him. It is your choice to have the baby as well. It is not his choice. It is never his choice. In fact, you'll hear very vocal feminists say you have no seat at the table. You like these old white men shouldn't be talking about this because they don't have a uterus.
Rita, let me ask you something. Who do you think the gatekeepers of sex are? Are they men? The gatekeepers of sex are. Do you think it's mostly men or mostly women? Do you think in your life there have been more men that wanted to have sex with you and you didn't want to have sex with them? Or the other way around?
Of course.
So the gatekeepers of sex would be which gender?
Women.
Okay, do you understand where this might be an issue?
Yes, you have unprotected sex.
Right.
And you develop a child. Okay.
Yeah.
But at the bottom line, that's your body giving birth.
No, we're not debating that for sure. Nobody here now, maybe in the chat, but nobody here is just saying we need to pass laws so that we can just abort these women or abort these fetuses while we're just men and the women are pregnant. No one's saying that.
It sucks that men pointing that out. Whether you keep a child or not.
It's not about whether or not it sucks. It's that is the way the world is.
It is because
it's after
that's
the fact.
your body. That's not that's the woman's body, not the man's body. So you can't force someone.
But what about the baby's body?
To go through. Well, that's the fucking issue, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Abortion or not abortion?
If the baby doesn't necessarily count, if the baby does count and the baby is considered a body, isn't that considered the man's body as well? Because that's his man's baby. You're just holding it. But that's the man's body inside your body.
Technically, that's 23 alleles from the man.
Technically, that's his body inside your body.
The mechanics of it is this, and I understand what you're saying because we always get into this conversation where it's like, okay, yes, it takes two people to have a child. Got it, understood. What I'm saying is, after the fact, it becomes the choice of the mother whether or not the child gets born or it does not. And until men have a seat at the until men can say just what you're saying, just a second here, is that it's also half of his genetics there as well. But he is, if a woman has the right to choose whether or not she's going to have the child, why does the man not have the right to say, you know what, I don't want to support this child?
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And you can easily just
now that is not an endorsement of that. I'm just presenting a fact.
It's funny. It's funny. We're coming to an agreement over an argument that people commit murder over and have committed murder over. And I'm not talking about abortion. I'm literally talking about protests on the White House lawn. People at the Capitol, people wanting to kill each other over this idea.
If you want to keep the child, keep the child. But if the man doesn't want to keep the child, then they shouldn't have to pay.
It's interesting. There's a lot of men. There's a lot of men who would.
A lot of girls get pregnant.
There's a lot of guys in the chat who are going to agree with that.
Girls, there's so many other ways to make money than having a fucking baby. Come on.